All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to something that has nothing to do with D&D. Um, for anyone that doesn't know, I have a bachelor's degree in business. The official title of my degree is Bachelor of Science Business Marketing Management. Um, and in addition to that, I have I can't even remember how long I was in it anymore because brain doesn't work. I believe I've got something like 6 to 8 years of retail management experience. The funny thing about that, the reason I start with my degree instead of my actual business experience is we have become so focused on the idea of accreditation, and I guess we have become is kind of a bad choice of tenses, because it was this way when I was working and for a decade before that. But this idea that somehow if you have a degree in something, that means that you are automatically more knowledgeable or better at that particular subject than someone without a degree. And at least as far as business is concerned, which is the only topic that I feel qualified enough to speak about, because not only do I have a degree in business, but um, I I tested out of, I want to say, 3/4 of the courses that I took. And by tested out, I meant in the particular program that I took it online. And at the beginning of the program, you could actually take the final exam of the test. And if you scored high enough, you didn't have to take the exam. You didn't have to take the course. You just got credit for the class because obviously you already knew the subject matter. And for about, I want to say, a third to half of my courses, I instantly tested out of them. And for the remaining like third to a quarter, um, that make up that 3/4 that I just told you about, um, I almost passed, and I had maybe one or two of the like 13 or 14 chapters of the book that I had to review. And it wasn't that I didn't know the subject matter, it was that I didn't understand the terminology they used. I knew all I knew all the policies, and I knew how everything worked. I just didn't know what they were called. Um, so yeah, getting a degree, specifically getting a degree in business, is, in my humble opinion, getting a degree in business is a remarkable waste of time. Because the vast majority of the things I learned in my business degree are actively detrimental to running a business. Um, and the reason I was able to pass so many of my classes without actually reading any of the text is a lot of the uh, memorandums, or memoranda, whatever the plural of memorandum is, um, from corporate would tell us to do these things that don't work because people in corporate have degrees and have never actually worked in a store. And so they think that what they learned in college is actually useful, and it's not in any way, shape, or form. The few exceptions to that, the project management courses that I took were unbelievably helpful, and that actually teaches you extremely useful stuff. And then most of the economics courses, micro, macro, and world economics, were really, really useful because economics in itself is a theoretical study. Practical application of economics is weird. Economics is significantly more useful at interpreting data than it is in making predictions or making decisions. Economics in general is much better past tense than it is future tense. So why am I talking about all this stuff? Well, I was in Twitter. I know that was my first mistake. I get it. I was in Twitter, and somebody linked a thread about YouTube analytics. And my specialty in management was I was a trainer, thus the name, and I was a sales manager. And sales management in retail involves a lot of numbers, and analytics are your bread and butter. I was good enough that I didn't have to walk into a store to generally know what they were doing wrong practice-wise. Not just what they weren't selling correctly, but I could tell you, at least in the chain that I worked in, I could look at their numbers and go, oh, they're not, they're pitching things this way and they should be pitching them this way. Or they're not asking this question when they are qualifying their customers or that. And I could do that just by looking at the analytics, because once you understand how analytics work, there's a lot of information you can glean from it. And again, I was a really good manager, and I just know how stores work. I could see the code. So analytics for YouTube. When I got access to the analytics for my YouTube channel and things like YouTube Studio, I love that stuff because it's really, really fascinating, and it tells me, it gives me a decent amount of interesting information. Now, the interesting thing about YouTube analytics, and this is why I've made this video, is while it's interesting, YouTube analytics are very rarely useful in the way that it is presented to you. Well, what do you mean by that? You just said it's interesting and there's a lot of stuff there. Yes, but, and this is the issue that I have, because I keep seeing this over and over and over and over and over again. People that don't understand how businesses work trying to read analytics and getting it absolutely wrong, and then tanking their YouTube channel, their Twitch channel, their TikTok, whatever it is. I see this happen over and over and over again. And I think one of my big issues with it is just how undervalued management skills are. The reason I say this, so I was a manager for over half a decade. I had a lot of friends that also worked in the service industry in general, and they hated managers. They thought managers were the laziest people in the world. Managers did nothing but sit on their asses, and I'm not saying that doesn't happen. There are bad managers. There's a lot more bad managers out there than there really should be. And one of the things I learned in business school is why that is. They didn't have any solution as to how to fix it, but they did explain why it is so many bad managers exist. And it's entirely based around the idea of the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Promotions in general very rarely go to the person that deserves it the most, or the person that's best at their job, because the person that's best at their job generally goes a little bit unnoticed because they do it so well that there's no need to notice them. They work very, very well. They're very, very reliable. They're just not focused on. Generally, the person that gets promoted is the one that is the loudest. And I mean that quite literally. The one that brags the most about their achievements, the one that talks the most to management. Literally, the person that is physically loudest will generally be the one that gets the promotion. It's not fair, it's not right, it's not smart, and it can tank your business. It's just how it is. So one of the very few things that was almost useful out of my business degree is understanding why that happened. Again, I had to come up with my own solution about how to fix it, because business school won't teach you that, but they will teach you the why. So going back to YouTube and management and the things like that, there is this kind of derision of managers and anyone above kind of the base entry level working class as well. They're just there to make your job harder, or they're just there, to exploit your labor or something like that. And it's 100% not true. A good manager will make or break a business for a number of different reasons. And management skills are essential in running a business. And here's the killer. If you make money on your YouTube channel, which I do not, or your Twitch channel, which I technically do, but it's such an infinitesimally small amount of money that even the IRS doesn't care about it. And they care about everything. You are running a business. And if you are running a business and you don't treat it as a business, your business will fail. And I see that constantly, over and over and over again. And I see these people just getting so mad. It's like, why can't I get this to work? I did everything I'm supposed to do. And then I put the video out and it didn't get the views. But I did everything. Like, I followed all the guidelines, but it didn't get the views. Oh, the world is against me. I can never do this. It's not how it works. It's never how it has worked. Oh, but you don't understand the algorithm. See, if you understand no, has nothing to do with it. Guess what? The algorithm, everybody blames the algorithm on YouTube for why all these channels fail. Nothing to do with it. I can tell you why a lot of these channels fail. I'm not saying the algorithm is completely pointless. I'm not saying the algorithm isn't stacked to favor really, really stupid things. The algorithm is not your problem. Every single time I see one of these people going, oh, I got fucked by the algorithm again. I can literally go back in their tweet timeline, generally less than a week. It is literally, normally it's a couple of days. I can go back and go, oh, there was a mistake, there was a mistake, there was a mistake, there was a mistake. I know why your channel is failing. And I see this constantly, especially with small to medium streamers. The big ones have their own issues, and it's an entirely different game when you get rolled back. But the people that are small and are trying to shift into the medium category, or the people that just got into the medium category, those are the ones that massively undervalue business management skills and also don't understand how analytics work. So, example. I'm going to start with how retail works. So in retail, and this is something in this thread that I just read, this is something that they brought up in YouTube as well. YouTube actually, whenever you put a new video out, what it'll do is, once the video's been up for a couple of hours, it will go, this video ranks, as far as the last 10 videos you've released, this is number 2 of 10, this is number 1 of 10, and it ranks it generally based on the number of views, and I believe that particular number is just the views, that ranking there. But it gives you a couple other things. It'll show your watch time, it'll show your impression click rate, which is actually a really, really important number that a lot of people don't understand. And then I can't remember what the other thing. It'll also have a thing about comments and stuff on there. But it shows you a few really, really useful things. And so when people look at that, they're like, well, look, you're competing with yourself on this screen, which is a good thing. You don't want to compare yourself to other people. You really want to compare yourself to yourself and see if you're improving. Guess what? That's actually really good business advice. In general, you don't want to compare your business to most other businesses on the market, because your business is going to be different for a number of reasons. If yours is a new business, you don't want to compare yourself to an established business, because your businesses work in different ways. A new business can show anywhere from 5% monthly growth all the way up to 100%, 200%, 500% month over month growth. And that's what it's supposed to see. You see massive growth when you first enter a new market. An established business, you generally want to aim for about 3% growth month over month. So compared to, And this is the other thing, is you don't generally want to compare what you did last month. You want to compare what you did last year. And I'll get into that in a second as to why you actually don't care about what you did last month next month. Other than not in that particular category. There's a bunch of different comparisons you have to make. But you generally don't compare this month's sales to last month's sales on a one-to-one basis. You generally want to compare this month's sales to last month's sales as compared to this month last year's sales compared to last month last year's sales. And there's a bunch of other ways to compare it as well. So, yes, that is technically good advice. But then they start going, but then I get really frustrated because, then my next video will come out and it'll be a 2 of 10. And I don't understand why this one was worse than the last one. Well, there's your first mistake. You think that the number of views somehow is correlated with the quality of the video. It's not. They're not related any way, shape, or form. Good videos get lousy numbers of views, and absolute shit goes viral. The quality of your video has nothing to do with or has very little to do with the number of views that you get. Does that mean you shouldn't worry about quality? No. Higher quality videos do tend, on average, to get higher views, but it is a very small piece of a much, much larger pie, and that's what I constantly see. Well, I put out this video and it's doing worse than the video that I made yesterday, and that means I made a bad video. No, it doesn't. You can't even infer that the video has anything to do. The video you made has anything to do with the views that you got for it. But that doesn't make sense. I released a video yesterday and it did this many views, and I released a video today and it did less views. So I'm a bad creator. No. First rule of business, don't take it personally. It's a business. Yes, creatives in general are going to take things personally, and I am a creative. We're going to take things personally because the things that we put out are much more personal than, a hamburger at McDonald's. Now, the funny thing about that is a lot of people will assume, well, creatives, we put our heart and soul. When I was a salesman, I took my sales personally. Not in a negative way, but I put a lot of effort and I took a lot of pride in my sales abilities. So the idea that creatives have this kind of monopoly on, being attached to their work isn't true. I sold printers and I was attached to the printers that I sold. That's how things work. But anyway, so first rule of business: don't take things personally. You have no control over 90% of what happens to your video. 90%. You barely have control over that 10%. So don't take it personally. If you see a video doesn't do as well as your last video, if you immediately jump to the conclusion, well, it's a bad video, or my favorite one, well, my audience doesn't like that video, so I'm never making a video like that again. See what you did? You didn't like this video, so I will never make it again. I've seen that so many times, and it blows my mind, where a creator will try something new, it will immediately fail, and they will go, I am never doing that again. And I've actually seen a few of them. There's one in particular that I will not call out their name, because I don't think that would be helpful to them, and they're big enough that they wouldn't care. But I've literally watched them try something new, either on stream or on YouTube, a couple different places, and it doesn't. They expect it to be their best video that they've put out in a while, and it just doesn't live up to expectations. It's relatively mediocre, right in the middle of what they to do. It's not the absolute best. It's definitely not the absolute worst that they put out. And so they instantly go, well, I can't do content like that, I guess. I want to do content like that, but I'm not allowed to because my audience doesn't like it. So despite the fact that this is what I want to do, I have to do this because this is my job and I have to make money. No, you're just a dipshit. You're just a dipshit that doesn't understand how businesses work. Congratulations. The funny part about it is this particular person actually has a little bit of business management experience, and that's what's even more infuriating about watching them make really, really basic management mistakes. One of which is looking at a single point of data and trying to extrapolate anything from it. Well, this one didn't get as many views in the first 24 hours, so people hate it. No, nothing to do with it. It's possible it's just a really bad video. That is technically possible. But when you focus on that and say, well, that's the reason why, without looking at any other data, then you're wrong. So going back to retail, one of the things that you do in retail sales specifically is you track a bunch of daily sales number. You'll track your average ticket, which if you don't know what that means, that's the average amount of money somebody pays when they go through the register. And it's a really, really simple thing to figure out. You take the total revenue for the day, you divide it by the number of transactions you had, that's your average ticket. In general, different oh man, what's the fucking word that I'm thinking of? Different kinds of stores have different average tickets that they look for. Like I worked in small box retail, so in general, the average tickets that we were aiming for was anywhere between about $20 to $30. That was the average ticket that we would generally aim for. And if you were in a bad market, it might go down to like $18, $17, $16. And if you were in a really good market, it might go up to $33, $35. If you're looking at something big box, something like Home Depot, Walmart, something like that, their average tickets are generally going to range a little bit closer to anywhere from $50 to $70 is the average ticket that they're looking for. Now, I have not been in the game for a decade. I have not been able to work in a decade, and I still know these numbers. You know why? Because they were the most important things to know as a sales manager. You had to know your average tickets. I got a job because I walked into a store that I was going to interview at, and I got there about half an hour early. And what I did in this store, without ever going up to any of the registers, I walked into the store and I looked around at the prices of everything in the store, and I watched what items customers picked up and went to purchase. And then I did some real quick calculations of, okay, well, there's this many customers in the store, and they're going through lines that much. And I look at the time, it's like, oh, it's around noonish, so this is probably a little of a rush. And so I did just some really basic math and went, okay, well, they probably have about this many transactions a day, if I had to take a guess. And I would guess that their average ticket is about this. And so I go into my interview, and we're talking shop and stuff like that. And he's like, so what do you think about it? I said, you know what? I think your store is really interesting because I come from this particular industry. And one of the things I noticed here that your average ticket, I'm guessing, is right around this amount, and you have this many transactions. So I find really interesting because in the industry that I'm in, our average ticket tends to be much higher, but overall volume is lower as far as transactions are concerned. So we get less transactions, but bigger transactions themselves. You guys get more transactions, but smaller amounts on each one. And I find it's a really interesting difference in how you have to approach how they go. And this was actually the guy that I was interviewing with was actually the manager of all the stores in the region. So this was the regional manager, and he just looks at me and he goes, "What did you say?" I said, "Yeah, you guys probably. I'm guessing here. I don't actually know, but your average ticket's what, around? I think at that particular store, I said it's what, around $12, $13." And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "You guys probably do," and I can't remember the number of transactions. I think I said somewhere in the neighborhood like 150 or 200. So I said, "Yeah, you guys probably do like 150, 200 per day on an average day." And he goes, "How did you know that?" And I said, "Well, I've been here for about half an hour. I try to come here a little early, and so I looked around. He's like, "You're almost dead on, and you never went up to a register. You never looked at any of our numbers." I said, "No." He's like, "Well, how did you know that?" I said, "Because that's what I'm paid to know." And I got the job right there. Like we had the rest of the interview, but there was no reason to finish interviewing me at that point. I had the job because I just told this manager how his store runs without seeing any of the numbers. So, going back to how that stuff. So, average ticket, total revenue, and profit margins for a few select categories we checked every single day. And we actually had a running tally that we would plug these numbers into the computer. The computer would actually do it for themselves. We actually look how we were doing compared to last year. We also could see how we were doing compared to yesterday, how we were doing compared to the week before, how we were doing compared to last month. But the only numbers we ever cared about were last year's numbers. And there's a reason why. Markets in generals have go through kind of high and low points. And those high and low points tend to follow a very predictable pattern. The reason we have the separations that we do in the business worlds, the 4 quarters that end on certain dates, like a business like Q1 doesn't start January 1st. They don't follow the months. They're slightly shifted off. The reason why these things exist is because the market itself, at least in the U.S., tends to follow a 4-quarter structure, where every quarter will have a peak and every quarter will have a valley. And so, understanding that, if you compare your numbers this year to the same week last year, not the same date last year, because the day of the week will change your sales. So what you do is you actually have every year separated into 52 weeks. And so the numbers that we were comparing to day 2 of week 23 of last year. We weren't comparing to April 3rd of last year. We weren't comparing, April 3rd to March 3rd or anything like that. We were literally looking at day 2 of the same week of the same period the previous year. And the reason that's important is because if you try to compare sales on a Wednesday compared to sales on a Monday, you're comparing apples and oranges. They're different environments. Different things are going to affect them. Another thing that we would have to do, and this is something I found really interesting about just working in Wisconsin in general, is we would actually look back at the year before and find out, was there a Packers game on that particular date? The reason being, Packers games, if you don't know who the Packers are the Green Bay Packers. They are Wisconsin's football team. Packers are really big in Wisconsin. It is almost state law that you must worship the Packers. And it actually affects sales trends. Days that we have Packers games, we would actually change our staffing models. And the funny thing was, we would have to change those staffing models based on whether the Packers were winning or losing. Because when they were winning, sales would be down, and when they were losing, sales would be up. It's the weirdest thing in the world, but that's how it was. So we would have to look back, because just comparing the raw data didn't actually work. We'd have to go back and we would have to look at, okay, what other events were happening? Was it raining outside that day? What was happening in the market? Did a store shut down? Did a store open up? Did we have a sale that week? That was another thing we always had to do, is we had to look at, was there a sale that week and what was it like compared to the sale we had this week? Did a new product launch on that day compared to this one? Did one of our competitors have a sale? All of these things we had to look at in order to figure out if we were doing well. You couldn't just go, 3% up, we win. The funny thing was, corporate only cared about 3% up, we win. And could not for the life of them figure out that wasn't a good way to run a business, because they had learned in college that as long as the numbers look good, then everything is good. So what does this have to do with YouTube? Well, let's go back to but my video today didn't do as good as the video yesterday, so I'm a bad creator. No, you're not. There's a lot of reasons why the video today didn't do as good as the video yesterday. First things first, the algorithm. Theoretically, as much as I say the algorithm is not the thing that's tanking your video, it does have an effect on it. You just can't blame everything on the fucking algorithm. So it could just mean that this particular video did not hit the algorithm the same way that the other one did. And there's a billion different reasons why that may be. It might be the length. It might be the first person that watched it might have accidentally clicked on it. Whereas last time the first person that watched your video watched it from beginning to end. And that changes how the algorithm looks at it. All of those things you have no control over, so don't give a fuck about them. If you try to chase the algorithm, you will fail. You want to know how I know this? Because there's algorithms in retail as well. And corporate, if you don't know what the word corporate means, corporate is a 4-letter word meaning fuck you, you fucking fuck-faced piece of fucking shit. It is the worst word you can utter in retail in general. If you are called corporate, it probably means that somebody hates you more than anything else in the world. Corporate is a naughty word. So if you are viewing your videos as, well, it didn't do the numbers are smaller than the video yesterday, then congratulations, you're corporate. And I mean that in exactly the way I described. You cannot compare videos day to day. Viewing habits are different on Mondays than they are on Tuesdays. Viewing habits are different on weekdays than they are on weekends. Viewing habits are different in March than they are in April, than they are in June. Viewing habits are different in the beginning of June than they are in the end of June. You cannot compare your videos on a day-to-day basis. If you do this, you are corporate and you are wrong. Stop looking at something, looking at a single point of data and going, I'm a failure! Or my other favorite one, my audience hates this and they hate me, but this is my job, so I have to do what they want. It's not how it works. It's not how it's ever worked. And if you ever want to be successful in this business, you need to stop fucking doing this. So, what you need to do is you need to look at your videos from a year previously. Because again, viewing habits, just like everything else, are actually going to follow that quarterly system pretty well. We have trained Americans at least, and most of the developed world tends to work on this this cycle as well. That comparing year over year, comparisons tend to be a really good way to actually look at growth and things like that. If you compare last year to this year, that will give you a much better idea about how this particular video is doing. If you compare ratio-wise, you can't compare raw number versus raw number. But if you compare like your average views this month to your average views last month, that can give you a bit of an idea, not so much on how your videos are doing, but it can give you an idea on the market itself and where the waves and peaks are. And that's the most important thing that you need to learn as a business owner and as a manager in general, is you need to plot out the map of your market. So go back to last year, and YouTube Analytics has the ability to do this, where you can get graphs that shows certain analytics over time. And so look at an entire year and look how your views fluctuate. Now, you can't actually look at only 1 year though, because I had massive views this January. January is a bad month for YouTube. So does that mean that I made the best video I've ever made in my life in January? No, I made a video about Critical Role. And it just so happened to coincide with Critical Role's newest book dropping, which was their first published book under Darrington Press. That's kind of like complaining that more people watched your show during the middle of a worldwide event than they did on your on your 17th birthday when you were playing Minesweeper for an hour. They're two completely different events. So not only do you have to look at the last year and start looking at that, you have to get multiple years of data to look at where things line up, because every year is going to be a little bit different, and you're going to grow every year. I have grown massively this year compared to almost any other year. This year and last year, I've grown more. My channel itself has grown more than any other years that I've been doing this. And I've been doing this for almost 10 years. So if I was to base all of my assumptions entirely on what happened just this past year, I would be doing myself a disservice, because I'm not getting an accurate picture of my market, because weird things are happening. I started doing new things. One of the nice things about YouTube analytics is it will show you every time you publish something. There'll be a little blip on there. So you can actually track. It's like, okay, I published something here and I can see the views for it came from that. And then you can actually click on every single day if you want to and go, okay, well, it looks like these are the things that were getting views on that day. There's a lot of really good information in YouTube analytics. However, nobody fucking uses it right. They all go, well, the video didn't do good, so my audience hates me, and I must continue to play the same fucking game 7 hours a day. And then I have to hate myself forever. All I want to do is play My Little Pony, but my audience won't let me. No. What you're doing is you're looking at a single point of data, not looking at any of the variables that are affecting it, and then just randomly picking one that makes you feel better. And guess what? It doesn't work. I have watched this constantly. I mentioned to a buddy of mine who was streaming, I literally watched somebody try something new, get pissed off beyond all recognition because their views, it was a Twitch streamer, their views were lower when they were playing this new game that they really wanted to play than when they were playing the really popular game. And they're like, well, I guess I'm just not allowed to do that because I can't afford to have viewers that low. And then by the end of the month, they actually had to take off something like a week or something because they got burnt out. And so instead of taking, and it was a dip. I think they got like half the number of viewers that they normally do. So I'm not saying that there's like, oh, there's 4 less viewers. No, we're talking about a difference of like 100 or 200 viewers because it was a bigger channel. So yeah, it was a pretty steep dip, but it was a 1-day dip. And they're like, oh, it's obviously the game. Well, fun fact, that doesn't make any sense because I enjoyed this stream significantly more than the other streams that he's been doing. And I've stopped watching his other streams because they're just not fun because he hates doing this. But he thinks this is what he has to do to make money. And so I actually looked into it. Found out everybody across Twitch had lower views on that day. So it had nothing to do with the game he was playing. And it was just the fact that the market dipped on that day for some reason. I don't think I ever figured out what the reason was. So this guy literally had one bad day, blamed it on his fans, went back to doing something he hated to the point where in order to keep himself sane, he had to stop playing and lost significantly more revenue than if he just weathered through the few days that it would have been low. And the funny thing about it was when the next day when he went back to the other game, his views were still low and he was still blaming it on, well, I played that one game yesterday and that just ruined my views. No, all of Twitch had a lull in views for like 3 days. But they didn't look at the market. They looked at a single data point and said, well, I have decided this is the problem and I am being hurt. This self-flagellation of, oh, woe is me, I have to. And so I brought this up in a streamer friend's chat, and he goes, well, you know what? That's their money. You know, it's different when it's your money. And if, again, I'm not going to call them out. If you're watching this, you probably aren't because you have, like, a life. But if you're watching this, that is the dumbest justification for a bad business decision you can make. That is that is effectively going, well, they took it personally, so they're allowed to be stupid because they took it personally. No. Just because this is how you make money means you can make dumb decisions? No, it's not how it works. This is a justification I see all the time. Well, it's different when that's your sole source of income. You know, you can't afford. Yes, you can. Again, I ran businesses. I didn't just run businesses. Sorry. I didn't just run businesses. I was the person that they sent in when the business was dying, and I fixed them. And I didn't fix, small little, mom and pop things. I fixed the busiest store in the busiest district in the company. And it took me 3 months. So no, you don't get to say, well, it's different when it's your paycheck. Yeah, that was my paycheck too. I worked 100% commission. I know exactly what it's like when your sales mean you don't get to eat dinner that night. But when you focus on the short term instead of the long term, you always fail. Every single time, 100% of the time, that's how it works. Short-term gains versus long-term stability always fails. This is Business 101, folks. It's just a show. This idea of, well, it's different when that's your... No, it's not. It just means that you're taking it personally. What's the first rule of business? Don't take it personally. It's business. If you want to have a Twitch channel and you want it to be kind of a personal relationship, that's perfectly fine. I had personal relationships with my clients when I sold printers. I had one dude, I'm not kidding. I had one dude come in. He had his own computer tech support company. So technically he was a competitor of mine because we had tech support services as well. So he comes in, he does not want to talk to anyone. He's already done his research. He doesn't want to talk to salesmen because salesmen are nothing but liars. He just wants to get the very specific things that he wanted, and then he was going to go. And if you tried to sell him anything, he was going to take his business somewhere else because he can get these things anywhere he wants, and they will price match your price. He's coming here because it's convenient. So this dude walks in. He has the don't fuck with me look and sunglasses on. Nobody wants to talk to him. I walk over. Hey, what can I do for you? Listen, he gives me the whole spiel. Absolutely. I was a private tech as well. I understand exactly what you're talking about. His first response was, huh? I said, yeah, I used to be a private computer consultant. Well, why do you work here? I said, because I didn't enjoy being my own boss. First of all, taxes are a nightmare. Self-employment taxes are a crime. And I was small. Like I had a handful of clients, which meant that I couldn't lose any of my clients, which meant I had to do really, really stupid things to keep my clients. And I hated it. Here, my taxes are taken out automatically. I get a pension. I have actual work hours. This works better for me personally. Not saying that you should. You obviously have a much better business than I did. And he's like, oh, no, that makes sense. No, I totally get it. And yeah, self-employment tax sucks. All right, well, this is what I'm looking for. I go, okay, let me see if we got any. And I had a couple of them. I said, you know what? I only have one of these things. But if you give me a couple hours, I can drive over. I can get you a couple more. Do you have that much time? He's like, yeah. I say, okay, go get lunch or something. I'll get this. Since you're getting this, I just kind of went through. You get these, you get these, you get these, you get these. Because we've got these deals if you buy them. So even if your client doesn't need these things, pick them up, keep them just as parts. And then the next time you need them, you'll have gotten them for cheaper. He's like, that's actually a really good idea. Oh, by the way, we have a service plan. No salesman. I said, listen. They're transferable, so you can literally give them to your clients. And they're actually service or replacement plans depending on how expensive the thing is. These monitors, they'll be replacement plans because they're less than $100. What that means is when your client calls you up and says, well, this is broken and I'm not paying for a new one, you just go, remember that number? Remember that thing that I gave you? Call the number. They'll get you a new one. No questions asked. He's like, really? And I sit there and I go through all the things like this. Legally, this is what this means. This is what this means. Circle these things. And if they give you any issues, come into the store. We'll take care of you in here. In the 4 years that I worked at this particular company, I think we did that twice because the company was really good that we outsourced our replacement plans through. He's like, really? I said, and the nice thing about this, it's done per receipt. So if you put one plan and you buy 3 monitors on the same receipt, that plan would cover if any one of them. So you don't want to spend and buy it for every single one of them. Just buy one. It'll cover if any one of them fails, which, as you and I know, one of them probably will fail. And half the time it's not going to be a problem with the monitor. It's going to be a problem with the customer. Actually, that's a really good idea. I said, okay. So, like I said, go get some lunch. Go chillax for a couple hours. I have to go get these things for you. But I'll have them here at this particular time. Okay. Sure enough, time comes out. He is absolutely on time. He comes in and is like, hey, how you doing? I got it all here. I can ring you out right now. And I did, and I got him everything. He's like, that's all I had to do? I said, yeah. Can I come back here again? Yeah. That's the whole point of this. He's like, if I need more stuff, can I just call you guys? Yeah. We can put stuff behind the counter for you. Generally, we don't want to hold stuff for more than about a day, depending on the item. If it's something that's really, really important, we may be able to only hold it for an hour. Like something we have a big sale on or something, we may only be able to hold it for an hour or something like that. But other than those very few things, you tell me what you need, I will find it for you. I will have it waiting here for you. You come in, you buy it, you leave. And he became a customer for the entire time I was there. He followed me to another store when I transferred. And for the life of me, I can't remember his name because I don't remember names. But I know exactly what he looks like. I could pick him out of a crowd today. Because I knew the guy. We were friends. We bonded over the fact that we hated being computer techs, but it was good money. So, yes, you can build relationships in your business. You still can't take business personally. You still have to understand how business works, and you cannot base your decisions on a single point of data. So, final thoughts. If you want to interpret your YouTube analytics correctly, you cannot compare Wednesday's video to Monday's video. Doesn't work that way. Viewing habits are different. What you can do, look at the subject matter. Certain videos will do better just because of the subject matter. Critical Role videos always do better than my D&D deep dives for the most part. So if I make something about Critical Role drama, it's going to do super, super well. Second, look at the market. If a video that generally, videos that land on this day of the week that have this subject matter tend to do well, and this one didn't, look at the market. Find a couple other channels that are similar in subject to you, and if you can find them similar in size, it doesn't have to be similar in size though, because you can still do comparisons. And then it's a really easy thing. Go to their channel, click on the videos tabs, and then click on all videos, and then go through theirs, and on that tab it will show date and views. If they put multiple videos a day, it gets a little bit more difficult, but you can go through and see, okay, it seems that during this period they were getting better and this one was getting worse. Now again, that information is not perfect because again, each channel is kind of have its own ebbs and flows and things like that. So then you have to find another one and another one. Try getting things from different markets. Get a big channel and a small channel and a medium channel. Get all these different channels and actually look at them and see, okay, was there a lull in views during this time? Good example of this, last month I think it was, or maybe the month before, all my numbers tanked. Every single one of them. I got down to about, I lost 50% of my average views, like 70% of my watch time. My impression click-through rate got to below 1%. Like it was really, really bad. I thought I was doing something wrong. And then I went on Twitter and found out that all of YouTube was having a lull that month. It had nothing to do with any of the stuff that I was doing. Now, it didn't help that my uploads became significantly more erratic during that time because of my own mental health. But again, if I had just blamed everything on, oh, I'm a bad creator, I wouldn't have been able to get back. And now I'm having one of the best months I've had in probably a year now. That's true, the Transformers RPG, funny enough, which I wasn't expecting, but I'm very pleased with. So if you want to interpret your analytics, you need to understand comparing week over week as opposed to day over day is a better comparison than day over day. So look at Tuesday of last week compared to Tuesday of this week's video. That is a significantly better comparison than Tuesday's videos to Monday's video. Don't make that comparison. It's a bad comparison. A better comparison is week 37, day 2's video last year to week 37, day 2 video, day 2's video this year. That will give you a significantly better, and you need to see it in relation to how it was doing then. You know, if you just look at raw numbers, your video from last year may have more views than your video from this year because it's existed for a year. So you have to look at the actual analytics. Well, last year about this time, I got 100 views. And my average number of views for a video was this. So that was technically above average here. But if I look now I got 200 views, and that's my average number of views is 250. So this one is 50 lower. That's how you make comparison. You cannot take a single data point. You cannot look at just the views. You have to look at the views in relation to, well, what is your average number of views? What is your average number of views on a Tuesday? What is your average number on a Tuesday in the month of March? What is your average number of views on Tuesday in the month of March when it's raining? You cannot base it on one thing. That's not how business works. Stop blaming things that you have no control over for your own ineptitude. And don't use the excuse, well, I have to do this because I have to eat. No, all you're doing is making your life more difficult and taking away money. If you want to eat, if you want to use the excuse, well, when it's your money. If you want to use that excuse, then learn how to run a business. Don't take it personally and look at the actual data. Don't look at a single point and come up with a random reason that makes you feel better or makes you feel worse. Some people like that, self-flagellation to the thing. Whatever you're into is not my business. But don't do that. It's insulting to anyone that actually understands how to run a business. And it blows my mind how few people that run businesses on YouTube know about anything to do with business. They get super, super lucky and then assume that they're good businessmen. The idea of you stand on the shoulders of giants and think yourself tall. Nope. You got lucky. Congratulations, you got lucky. Now do the work. Learn how a business works. I'm so tired of reading over and over and over again. Well, I wanted to make content. I didn't want to run a business. Well, fuck you. Because that's how the world works. If you want to do your own thing, if you want to be your own boss, learn how to be a boss. And if you don't want to be your own boss, pay someone, because it's a pain in the ass to run a business. And this flippant idea of, well, I just didn't like the business aspect. Very few people do. It's hard work. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of numbers. It takes a lot of understanding, and it takes a lot of rejection and failure. Businesses are built upon failure. So stop with this idea of one data point means the world is ending. It doesn't. If you did do something massively wrong, let's say you are 100% right and the game that you chose your audience doesn't like and they're never going to like it. Congratulations, you failed. That's good. Failure is a significantly better teacher than you will ever have from success. You will learn so much more from failure. Failure is good. What you need to do is you need to create an environment where you can fail. If you're in an environment where you cannot make any mistakes, your business is going to go under because you will make a mistake. That's how businesses work. So if you build your entire business on I have to do everything absolutely perfect, and anytime anything even starts to wobble at all, I immediately course correct and go back to doing the exact same thing I've always done, your business will fail. That's how businesses fail. If you don't innovate, if you don't try new things, the business goes under. Every single time, this is how businesses will work. Stop thinking you're special. The rules of business don't apply to you. You're not special. You never have been. You got lucky. Congratulations, that does mean you're kind of special because you got lucky and someone like me didn't. Hoopty wonderful. That doesn't mean that the laws of economics don't actually apply to you. Supply and demand doesn't do things. Doesn't mean that psychology doesn't apply to you. It doesn't mean that you can blame your audience for something and they're not going to have a negative reaction to it. It's just how it is. Stop taking things personally. This isn't personal. As much as you may build a relationship with some of your audience, you will not build a relationship with all of your audience. You should not build a relationship with all of your audience. A large portion of your audience will always be people that are watching you for entertainment. And that's it. They really don't give a flying fuck about you. They will never give a flying fuck about you. You could wind up dead, and the worst thing that they will think is, damn, I have to find a new video to watch at 1 o'clock. Don't take that personally. Not everybody in the world needs to be connected to you. Not everybody in the world can be connected to you. It isn't personal. Treat your business like a business, and that doesn't mean always look at the bottom line. No. Relationship building is important for a business. Again, I was in sales. I learned the first names of almost every regular customer I met, and I suck with names. I would learn about their children. I would learn about the things that they were doing, and I would ask them about them. They became my friends, but it was still business. I was still there to do a job, and I told them that to their faces. If they would come into my store and they would say, hey, I need this, I'm going to say, listen, we sell this service. I am paid to sell you this service. So when you come in with a problem that I have a service, I am obligated to pitch this service first. I have to. This is my job. It's business. That being said, what you're describing, I don't think this service is right. Or this is not the best service for you. It's a good service. I stand behind the service, but for what and it will do exactly what you want. But for what you're describing, you really just can go to this particular business and they'll take care of you and it'll work perfectly for you. And I've had that conversations with customers, and guess what? Those customers have spent more money on the service that wasn't perfect because I was the one that sold them it. So yes, you can be personal with your clients, your customers. You can create relationships with them, with your viewers, things like that. You cannot take it personally. It is a business. Understand that you are not a bad business person if your business fails. There are a lot of things that are outside of your control. You are not a bad content creator if a video you spent a lot of time and put a lot of effort into didn't work. It didn't hit for a billion different reasons. That doesn't mean the video was bad. Again, good videos get 0 views and bad videos get billions. Just because a video fails doesn't mean it's a bad video, and just because one of your videos fails doesn't mean that you're a bad creator or a bad streamer or a bad singer or a bad anything. Comics bomb all the time, and it doesn't mean that they're a bad comic. The best comics in the world have multiple stories of bombing. Within the last year. Dave Chappelle, which a lot of people consider the greatest of all time, has stories about bombing recently. And he is a phenomenal comedian. Every single one of them bombs regularly. It's how it works. They all have stories about it. Every single manager has stories about times that they made mistakes, about times that they screwed up something really, really bad, about times that not every single manager has stories about businesses going under, because it's not nearly as common as people think it is, but it's still relatively common. So yeah, stop viewing everything as a single point of data. If you really want to run this as a business, which by the way, if you're making money off it, you need to stop focusing on just the first box you see when you open up YouTube Studio, because that box is massively misleading. For someone like me that understands business, and when they look at that number, they can go back to last year and go, oh, last year I was doing this, because I memorize numbers, because that's what I was paid to do for almost a decade, then yeah, that box is really useful, because I don't look at the box and just go off of what the box says. I go in the box and go, okay, well, that goes there, 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 there. And then a lot of times I'll go in and go, well, I don't remember this number, because my memory doesn't work as well as it used to. And I'll go back and I'll make comparisons and go, oh, well, that makes sense. Oh, well, this happened here and this happened here. And then I'll go onto YouTube and look at other channels and go, oh, well, look, this happened. That's what you have to do if you want to run a business. You have to. 100% of the time. If you're doing Twitch streaming, you need to follow other streamers and you need to watch how things go for them. You cannot only watch your friends. You cannot only follow streamers that you like. You can't only follow streamers that follow you back. You can't only follow streamers whose politics coincide with yours. If you want to be a Twitch streamer, you need to understand the market, and that means watching big streamers. You gotta watch Amaranth, and you also gotta watch the person that has like 3 people watching. It doesn't mean that you have to watch them constantly, but being able to look up, oh look, they're streaming at about this much right now. Oh, okay, and they're doing this and this and this, and oh well, this is happening here and here. You need to understand the market. You cannot just focus on your own little corner of it and pretend that that's the only thing that exists. It's not how a business works. Now, if this sounds really, really complicated and way too much work, it is, but it isn't. It sounds complicated. It's not once you understand it. Again, I can look at that little box on the YouTube Studio and understand exactly how I'm doing. And then I look at a couple other boxes on there. I really should get to the point where I customize it a little more to give me the actual information I will want, but that takes actual work. I'm so used to looking at analytics that I can look at partial analytics and interpret what the rest of them are, just because I know how they're connected. In the same way that I could look at somebody's sales records and I could tell you how they were pitching their replacement plans. Just by looking at their sales record. I never talked to a single employee. I never walked in their store. I don't know who their managers are. Nothing. I could just look at their sales and I could tell you how they were pitching things, because I understood how the system worked. And I will... It sounds like I'm bragging. This is actual... I did this. I called up a store manager... or I called out a store manager during a call. Now, I was not a store manager. I was a sales manager. The hierarchy goes store manager, assistant store manager, operations manager, sales manager, which I wasn't technically a sales manager. I was a sales specialist, but was part of the management team. So I called out someone up here and just said, well, I'm looking at your numbers here. Your salesmen are probably pitching this particular pitch, right? Well, that's your problem. If you would pitch it this way, I can tell you that these attachment numbers would increase. And if you do this and this and this, these attachment numbers will increase. Well, how do you know that? I said, am I wrong? Well, no, but do you come into my stores? I've never... Your store's on the opposite side of this state. Why the hell would I go to your store? I don't like going to my store on my day off. Why would I go to your store? No, I looked at your sales numbers because I have access to all the sales numbers of everyone in the district, as did every other sales manager. We could look at anybody's sales numbers. And I was right. And he got mad at me. And the district manager, his boss, uh, really liked me. I was on a first name basis with the district manager. I had a couple people try and threaten my job and go, do you want to talk to Dave about that? Because I'm sure Dave would have a wonderful, oh, hi, Dave. How are you? I called him by his first name, which he told everyone to call him by his first name. Most people didn't. But I would go, Dave, what's up, dude? Shake his hand, and he loved me because I was really good at my job, and he understood that. Still didn't get me my own store. Anyway, so yeah, stop taking things personal. It's not personal, it's business. Don't look at a single data point. Look at trends. And for the love of God, stop blaming the things that you don't control for your failures. Doesn't matter if it is or it isn't their fault. You need to stop blaming those things. You do have some control over your content. Even if you can't control the algorithm, even if you can't control your audience, can't control all these things, you do have some control. So if you instantly go and blame it on something you have no control over, it's a piss poor excuse of a bad manager that blames their tools instead of the things that they can control. You know, they oh, well, it was raining out, so obviously no one could have made money in that condition. No, it's not how it works. Yeah, you can't control the weather, and yes, the weather does affect sales. Doesn't mean you get to blame your bad day entirely on the weather. There's a lot of other reasons for it. And doesn't mean you get to blame your bad video just on the algorithm or your audience doesn't like it or something. No, man up, learn, or woman up, or person up, whatever you want to call it. Do the work. Learn how a business actually works. Look into the actual analytics. Do some research and figure out what the fuck is going on. And stop acting like a baby and throwing a little temper tantrum when you don't get to do what you want exactly the way that you want it. Anyway, that's all for me today. See you guys next time. All right. Bye-bye.